There was a time when, every time I scrolled through social media, I was really interested in a trend called That Girl. I remember watching so many videos of girls waking up super early. They rolled out their yoga mats, made themselves a green juice, quietly sat down to write in their journals, did their skincare step by step, and then started a very productive day in a simple, clean space. I would look at the screen and think to myself, wow, these girls, they seem to have total control over their lives. Honestly, in a way, I don't think this trend is bad at all. Actually, it inspired a lot of people, maybe even you and me, to start taking better care of ourselves. It reminds us of a simple truth that we often forget when we are busy. Health is really important. Discipline is really important. The way we eat, rest, or simply how we patiently make our bed every morning, all of these things quietly shape our mental health. And if one day we see a picture of that girl and suddenly feel motivated to wake up a little earlier, put on our shoes for a short walk, or sit down to write about our mixed feelings, then I believe that is still a really wonderful thing. But the problem starts when a role model no longer inspires us, but slowly becomes a silent pressure. At first, we only want to take better care of ourselves. But later, self-care can become a way to prove something. We want to prove that we are living the right way. We want to prove that we are good enough, pretty enough, disciplined enough, and successful enough in other people's eyes. And that is the dangerous part. We may think we are improving ourselves, but sometimes we are only acting. Being healthy is not enough anymore. We also want our lifestyle to look perfect. Healing is not just about feeling better inside. It also has to look beautiful, calm, and aesthetic. We do not just want to become better. Deep down, we also want someone to look at us and say, "She looks so peaceful. Her life is so inspiring." And little by little, the journey of loving ourselves can turn into living for approval. We stop asking, "What do I really need?" and start asking, "How do I look in other people's eyes?" And that is the thin line we will talk about in today's podcast episode. So now, please find a comfortable place, take a sip of tea, and let me stay with you for the next few minutes. Before we go any deeper, I have a question for you. Have you ever watched behind-the-scenes videos of big movies or seen how sets are built in a film studio? When we look from the camera angle, which is the front, it can be a beautiful, perfect villa. It is carefully designed and brightly lit, ready to look great on screen and amaze the audience. But what if you walk around to the back? There is nothing at all. It is all just an empty shell, a backdrop loosely held up by a few pieces of wood. Or to put it simply, the whole thing is fake. Just one small storm, and everything will be quickly destroyed. Back to our topic. When a person lives only to seek approval from the outside, their life is also very unstable and has no solid support. When they let their mood depend too much on likes, shares, and comments on social media, it means their peace of mind also depends too much on external things. Peace, based on other people's praise, is actually borrowed peace. And you know, borrowed things never belong to us forever. Why do I say that? First, people's attention is never stable. The outside world changes very fast. Today, people might praise you and like what you do, but tomorrow, they might move on to another trend or another person. If you make their attention your life goal, you will fall into an endless race. You will always ask yourself if you are good enough today. Because outside standards always change, trying to please everyone will just make you tired. Second, when validation becomes your only motivation, you will slowly become dependent on it. At first, a few likes or one compliment can make you happy, but over time, you will need more praise and more attention to believe that you are still worthy of love. This is a dangerous trap. Instead of being true to yourself, you build an image for others to accept. You stop asking what is right for you and only care about what others think. You lose your freedom because you are no longer steering your own life. You always have to wait for outside reactions to know if you are okay, and you easily forget how to feel at peace with yourself. But do you know what the most dangerous thing is? When you put all your joy and value in the hands of others, you take away your right to control your own life. You give the remote control of your emotions to people who don't even live your life, who don't understand what you have been through. What one person thinks is perfect might be boring to another. The effort you are proud of sometimes means nothing to their standards. If you keep changing yourself to fit the world's standards, you will accidentally break yourself into 100 different versions. Today you try hard to please this person. Tomorrow you have to act differently so that another person doesn't judge you. In the end, you are tired, empty, and completely forget your true self. And there is a harsh but freeing truth. The people you try so hard to impress actually don't care about you as much as you think. They are also busy fighting their own pressures and worries in their own lives. They just walk past your movie set, leave a quick like, give a careless compliment or criticism in a few seconds, and then rush back to the movie where they are the main character. They won't be there to help you clean up the broken pieces when the stage falls down. So, my friend, why do we have to trade our inner peace and drain our energy to build a beautiful stage just to serve those passing guests? That is why the most real and lasting motivation, it must grow from inside you. When you do something for your own joy, because it matches the core values you believe in, that energy is endless. It is like a small power station right in your chest. It runs and recharges by itself. Nobody praises you? That is okay. You still feel happy because today you are a little better than yesterday. Someone criticizes you? You might feel a bit sad for a second, but you certainly won't destroy the house you are building just because of that. Because when you live with motivation from within, you take back the remote control of your emotions. Your happiness no longer drifts around based on what others think. It is anchored in the safest and strongest harbor in the world, yourself. Let me share a little story of my own with you. A while ago, there was a time when I got caught up in trying to be a super disciplined and aesthetic version of myself, just to follow a trend. I forced myself to wake up at 5 a.m. to exercise. Every day, I brought my phone with me, carefully found the best angle to record my morning run, added a chill lo-fi song, and posted it on my story. I excitedly waited for the likes and messages saying things like, "Wow, you are so hardworking lately," or "I really admire your energy." And you know what? For the first few days, I was very excited. But just over a week later, waking up became a heavy burden. On days when there was light rain and no beautiful sunlight to film a video, I just felt disappointed and went back to bed. I realized a harsh truth. I didn't love running at all. I just really wanted the feeling of being praised by others through it. Until one morning, my phone battery died. I decided to just put on my shoes and go outside with empty hands. No camera, no music, no audience at all. And that was the first time I truly felt my own breathing. I heard the leaves rustling, felt the cold air on my face, and realized my body was moving smoothly, full of life. That day, I didn't run far, but when I got back to my front door, my heart was filled with a strange joy, a very quiet and pure satisfaction. That was the exact moment I realized, this is true motivation from within. When you do something because you really love it, or because it matches the values you believe in, that motivation will last much longer. For example, you exercise not for people to praise your body, but because you want to be healthier. You read books not to look smart, but because you really want to understand more about life. You take care of yourself not to prove anything to anyone, but because you know you deserve to be treated well. Then, you no longer have to wait for others to give you energy. It is like you have a small power station inside you that lights up and runs by itself and doesn't need anyone to charge it for you. Nobody praises you today? That is totally fine. You still feel happy because you read a few more pages, or you feel proud because you worked out and felt a bit lighter than yesterday. What if someone criticizes you? Of course, you might feel a bit sad because we are all human, and bad words can sometimes bring us down. But the important thing is, you won't let one bad comment ruin your whole journey. You won't throw away your running shoes, stop reading, or give up on the person you are trying to become just because of someone's judgment. Because when you learn to live with inner motivation, you take back control of your emotions. Your happiness no longer completely depends on compliments, likes, or the approval of others. It is no longer like a small boat drifting in the sea, pushed around by the waves of other people's opinions. Instead, your happiness now has an anchor, and that anchor is inside you. When you know who you are, what is important to you, and why you are trying, you will become much stronger. You still listen to the world, but you no longer let the world decide your value. So, my dear friend, from today, try to stop putting your value in the hands of others. You don't have to live just to be praised. You don't have to try hard just to get validation. And you don't need to wait for applause from the outside to believe that you are on the right path. This life is yours. This journey is also yours. The most important thing is not how many people see you, but when you look at yourself, do you feel peaceful, proud, and true to who you are? From today, learn to light your own light. Do good things for yourself, not to prove anything to anyone. Try your best every day, not to be admired, but because you really want to become a stronger, freer, and more peaceful version of yourself. Thank you for staying until the very end. I hope that after today's episode, you will remember a very small but very important thing. You don't need the whole world's approval to start approving of yourself. If today's podcast touched something inside you, I invite you to continue listening to the playlist at the end of this video. There, we will explore deeper topics together about healing, growing up, loving yourself, and learning how to connect with yourself. Wishing you a very peaceful day. And see you again in the next podcast episodes.